We say good afternoon and welcome to this another edition of the papers on Camdis television. We shall be revisiting what the men and women of the press actually said, our colleagues from the printing press said during this week. We have selected some newspapers for you, but we know that the major news of the week is what the senior divisional officer for Fundi actually said as to what concerns freedom of expression. The senior divisional officer says that all must not be speak on in public, and that of course journalists, we people of the press, we have to make sure that our invitees are responsible and Republican, and that is why we on Camdis television, we have men of substance and caliber, men who are responsible, men who of course are professional too. And that is why today, as usual, I am not alone. I am with men of substance. I will begin with him. They call him, of course, Bane Jine Elvis. He is a Secretary General of a Republican political party, the PAP party, the Popular Action Party. Well, we say good afternoon to you, Mr. Bane Elvis, and welcome to the papers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tabi. Good afternoon to my co-panelists, and especially good afternoon to all viewers from Camdis. It's been a little while that I've not been on your platform, and I want to thank you for this opportunity you give me again.
It's a pleasure always when we have the PAP. How is the PAP working?
Well, I think you are very much versed with the PAP, Mr. Tabi. You know, we are working well. We just came out of a convention that was last month, June. I want to assure Cameroonians and assure the militants and sympathizers from the Popular Action Party that, like you rightly said, we are a Republican party. We work within the ambits of the law, and we are leaving no stone unturned with respect to 2025. We know how competitive the year is going to look like, and of course we continue to encourage Cameroonians to enroll massively onto the electoral list, because sometimes when you see some of the agitations coming from some officials, it is because they fear what is going to happen in 2025, and of course we are up to the task.
Up to the task. We know that we have Republican values in the PAP. We cannot count 3-4 political parties today without the Popular Action Party. We seize this opportunity to say good afternoon to the national president of that political party. They call him Jan Dennis Tabe. Equally with us here is Lambert Kevin. He is a journalist. We say good afternoon. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Tabi. It's always a pleasure being on air to talk what the papers are saying. And like I keep saying, you've come on air. You have spoken very well. What message? Yes, I was like, it's not like we have advantage because you are a journalist and I'm a journalist, because we keep coming on air. There are some people who you even invite them and pay them transport, they will not come. Yes, so the message should be, what have you even said on air? You were on TV. What did you say? Is the question. I want to appreciate our brothers who are of the print media. I want to let them know that it is not just coming on TV or radio. The newspaper, there are people who are silent and they are killing it in writing. Writing is good, but I equally want to advise them that in as much as you want to sell your newspapers, you need to avoid provocation. Sometimes you see a bold headline and you want to read it deeply, and there's no content. So we appreciate what they are doing, and what we need is just collaboration. A journalist, after all, is a journalist, but a good journalist is a Tabi. Somebody told me yesterday, a good journalist is a journalist that is still alive.
A good journalist is a journalist who is still alive.
Still alive in writing,
and of course, when I see you, I always like to talk about Kumbu, because I don't come from the high school Kumbu. The last time we went there was when?
I can't remember, because You don't. A gun is not a television that you watch, nor a radio that you listen to, nor a newspaper that you read. When it comes to gunshots, we need to be very careful. Kumbu is not strong because on daily basis, is either somebody is being seen, anyhow is being seen. You want to understand that? See, there's a saying that when elephants are fighting, the grass is just dying, and that is how Kumbu can be described, because there is no peace in Kumbu. Sincerely speaking, there is no peace in Kumbu, because I can't go to my compound, I can't visit my mother's grave. Meaning that is a problem. You're talking about Kumbu, and you want to think of Tobin. If you can see that municipal stadium that you went there stadium to report when you were doing sport, it is not the way you used to see it. Telling you the story that there is clouds. Yes, there is cloud, and we are praying that the clouds should clear, so that we should give you the picture that we used to have about Kumbu.
The picture that we used to have about Kumbu, especially the Tobin Municipal Stadium, when Kumbu Strikers was playing again in Elite 1. We used to travel to Kumbu. We want to believe that a peace will return to, of course, to the northwest and equally to the southwest regions of Cameroon. But progressively, things are getting back to normalcy. Equally with us here in studio, they call him John Neba. John Neba is a teacher. We say teacher, prof. We say welcome to the papers.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tabi. Thank you for renewing my invitation. And then I want to thank and to greet all the co-panelists, my other brother who is here, and then Mr. Kevin that I'm meeting for the first time live. It's my pleasure to meet you live. I'm not used to greeting people, but I would like to greet I think they call him the Secretary General of the Presidency, Ferdinand Gongo, and to wish him good luck with what is going on with Adolphe Modiki. I think maybe he's working for the good of the people. I equally want to say that when Kevin is talking, if you ask me when I went back to Bafut after 2017, I will not remember. And that is why yesterday I was in a heated debate struggling to tell somebody that this idea of IDPs, maybe they should look at the way they define it, because it is true, I left Bafut intentionally and came to Yaoundé, but I cannot go back to Bafut. What am I?
An IDP.
When presently my grandmother died on the 11th of this month, and the removal of corpse will be on the 2nd. But in Bafut, I cannot go. My mother called me and said, "Don't dare." And now, who am I? I am an IDP. It is true, I did not escape, but I cannot go back. So it is really terrible. There are places where we cannot go, and we continue to help the powers that be to make them understand that these are things that are happening. Maybe they can lay their hands on the right solutions.
Of course.
I equally want to greet those who have written the baccalaureate. I saw a communique that the results will be dropping. I want to tell them to take heart, especially those who don't make it, not to be discouraged. There are some people who can pass, and then you still bypass them somewhere in the university.
And it's true that I know two already who have not succeeded the baccalaureate exam.
Yeah, because
college to them is
there's a lot of groaning.
It's not easy all the way. But we want to believe that peace will return to Bafut. Peace will return, of course, to Kimbo,
inshallah,
to Tobin, to the northwest, to the southwest. Well, of course, before we actually welcome our next invitee, the time for us to have, of course, the jingle before we come back for the press review. let's we begin with our press review. Which paper? Is it Cameroon Tribune? The Guardian Post talks of as 2025 presidential election gathers momentum, panicky regime issues, riot act to guard opposition. That is what the Guardian Post is actually saying after the outing of the senior divisional officer for the Fundi. We take another newspaper. We move forward. We take another newspaper. We take Le Jour of Aman Mana, who writes an open letter to, of course, to the senior divisional officer for Fundi. In an editorial, of course, he is reminding the senior divisional officer that Cameroon is a land where there is a freedom of expression, and allowing people to speak their minds equally is a sign of democracy. We move forward. We take another newspaper. We take still the Guardian Post. The Guardian Post talks of an alarming situation with over 3,413 road accidents, killed 256 and injured 254 in just 6 months. Those are the statistics of the Guardian Post. We want to believe that our friends of the Guardian Post, of course, went for investigations, and it's nice to know that they are having the figures. And municipal updates talk of championing digital revolution in Africa. Nigeria's ex-president Olusegun Obasanjo says ICT University setting the standards. And we move on, we move forward. We take Réalité Plus, le quotidien of my very good friend Paul Ngwari Kindi, talks of West, le gouverneur Awa Franck Augustine sauve l'église catholique face à la grande chef traditionnelle, because some traditional chiefs are saying they will no longer go to church because one pastor actually accused them of certain malpractices. And there in the West region, the governor is trying to bring peace between pastors of churches and equally some traditional rulers over there in the West region of Cameroon. We take another newspaper. Le Jour of Aman Mana, Yaoundé, la capitale de la peur. Certainly after the outing of the senior divisional officer for Fundi, where the senior divisional officer is making it clear that we have to respect the institutions of the republic, even if we are to criticize. Criticism is allowed, but then we should not ask people to go to the streets. We should not ask people to move, of course, to pick up weapons, to pick up arms against the republic, because first and foremost, we are all Cameroonians, sons and daughters of this wonderful place called Cameroon. Those are the wordings, or those are the words of the senior divisional officer of Cameroon. Thinks that some politicians are coming on television to actually call Cameroonians to take to the streets, and that is not normal when we are a Republican, when we are responsible or irresponsible politician. We take another newspaper. Cameroon Tribune talks of menace d'interdiction de séjour dans le Fundi. Le préfet explique le débat entre suite à un arrêté, because it was after a release from the senior divisional officer for Fundi. Is an arrêté or a release that is actually dividing Cameroonians, because some Cameroonians think that it's not normal what the senior divisional officer for Fundi is saying. Others think that it's normal because the republic is the Republic. Surtout que la République est encore debout. And they think that, of course, nobody has to take weapons or pick up arms against the Republic. The Cameroon Tribune of Marie-Claire Nana makes it clear. And we continue, we take another newspaper. Info à chaud of Magellan, Camgang talks of arrêté du préfet du Fondé. Le MRC dénonce une violation flagrante de la loi. The CRM party of Prof. Maurice Kamto says it's a violation of the law, of the Constitution. That is what, of course, the CRM of Prof. Maurice Kamto is saying. Well, we move forward. We take Mutation with the picture of Mr. the Senior Divisional Officer, Liberté d'expression, le Front républicain, freedom of expression, the Republican Front. It's true that we have to say what is in our mind, but then should we say all in public? That is equally a question that we are asking. And we shall be discussing this, of course, in the second part of this program. Well, we continue. La Voix des Jeunes, still with a picture of the man of the week. That is how they have termed. Many are describing the Senior Divisional Officer for Fundib as being the man of the week. Liberté d'expression, l'arrêté qui divise. Another newspaper. La météo, Yaoundé et ses environs. Paul Biya tient promesse pour l'eau potable. It's true that according to la météo, there is water in Yaoundé. There is water, of course, throughout the four corners of the Republic. And then we can see below the page of la météo, délivrance de la CENI en 48 heures. Les assurances de Louis-Paul Moutazé, the Minister of Finance, made it clear that it's no longer 15,000 francs CFA, it's 10,000 francs that each person will have to disburse to have an ID card. And that the good news is equally that it's no longer 10 years, it's now 15 years as what concerns the duration of an ID card today. So that is the good news coming from Minister Louis-Paul Moutazé of Finance as to what concerns the national identity card. We take another newspaper. Exploration minière is a mutation. Talks of le permis qui fâche. It's true that we are still expecting Linus Otoko Trésor who masters much as what concerns le permis qui fâche, l'exploration minière, according to the Mutation newspaper. On continue, on prend un autre journal. Nous prenons Municipal Update, talks of political engagement and exercise of freedoms. Government reiterates urgent need for order. Yes, because we have been having this order, and government thinks there is that need to for order, especially as we are heading closely but surely to 2025, a year of presidential election, a year of stakes and challenges. It's true that Kribi, of course, Biya's envoy is the PM John Gute, commissions to Simfo cement factory today. The cement factory will get operational as from today. Officially, it will be opened by Prime Minister Joseph John Gute, who of course is in Kribi since yesterday. We take another newspaper after municipal updates. Another newspaper, I think it should be the last one. If it is the last one, then we should come back here in studio to welcome the president of Jeunesse Patriotique du Cameroun, the National He is the national vice president, but I like to call him the president. Mr. President, we say good afternoon and welcome to the papers.
Good afternoon, Mr. Tabby Clarkson. Thank you for inviting me here again. I would first like to congratulate you for
Thank you
for your nomination.
Thank you.
And I hope that we will have a comfortable atmosphere in our debate today.
It's a pleasure. We say thank you for coming, Mr. President. It's always a pleasure to have you. And of course, I'll begin with of course, the Secretary General of the PAP, because he too is a pressman. In one way or the other, I know that he's a pressman too. Tell us, Mr. Secretary General, which papers caught your eyes, the review?
Well, in number of papers, in number of headlines, though I may not be able to retain all. The first one I think should be the Guardian Post, if I'm not mistaken, that talks about 3,413 accidents.
Yeah, the Guardian Post talks about the accidents. Can we have it
just,
on the screen?
In just 6 months.
In just 6 months, the figures are there, alarming figures.
I just want to say that it is quite deplorable, and that I would simply want to use this opportunity to simply call on the responsibility of each and every one of us.
No, not this one. The other Guardian Post talking about accident.
As
okay,
this particular issue is concerned, when I talk about the responsibility of each and every one of us, I want to talk of the authorities that be they the ministers of transport, public works, all those charged with constructing and maintaining our roads. We should take note that when we talk about roads in our country, it's true there are a few of them that have been rehabilitated, but the truth is that overall we have very bad roads in our country, and there are some areas where we don't even have the roads even that lead to these places. And I want to think that we are so blessed with resources that roads should have been at least one of the list of complaints we should have in this country today, when especially we are talking about over 63 to 64 years of independence. So I want to think that the authorities that need to review their policies again when it comes to road constructions and ensure that Cameroonians have it as one of the basic things that we need to be able to at least save lives. Now, the other way around, I would also want to call on drivers to sometimes also be very, very cautious. And
because I wanted to ask a question, are roads solely responsible for
that's accidents? Why I began by saying I'm calling on each and every one of us, be they those who are supposed to maintain the roads or construct them, be they those the users, the drivers. You see, every other person needs to be very, very conscious when we are on the highway to know that when you are driving, for instance, you carry lives, and those lives at that particular moment, they are under your responsibility. Sometimes some people drive in very tired conditions, they sleep on the steering, some maybe even tipsy or drunk or things of that nature. Sometimes the state of the vehicles are not quite the best. That's why I say every other person here, I am inviting each and every one of us to be a little more responsible when it comes to plying the roads, and then of course those who are supposed to ensure that these roads are in good shape. Then I think Loju also mentioned something. I think I will not want to talk much on that because
before we talk on Loju, I would like us to react vis-a-vis. I will begin with you vis-a-vis the headline of the Guardian Post on accidents. Can we have again the paper, the accidents?
Yeah, it's terrible, and I want to take it from a certain point. Sometimes drivers are confused, especially drivers of buses. You are leaving the house, you are not happy. What will happen when you are carrying lives? Sometimes your boss is forcing you to go and work because there is no driver, because he thinks that you are the only trusted driver. What happens? You are tired, you cannot tell your boss that I am tired simply because you have a Njangit tomorrow. There's a problem. Yes, sometimes you are forced to do so, and a driver, and sometimes you discover that drivers, they equally want to have what we call back pocket. You want to drive from here to Limbe, and before you come back to and fro, you already have extra money that is more than the 70 people you are carrying. It's tempting. When you have that anxiety for money, these things can happen. And when our routes are not good, just like what by co-parliament is saying, our route, we don't have route here in Yaoundé. We don't have route in Cameroon. I'm sorry to say so. We have, I think the only route that we have is the auto route from Timalen to whatever. That's the only route that we can appreciate. Because living here from Yaoundé to Douala, it is suicide mission. Suicide mission, because despite the reckless driving we see on the road, our roads are very poor. Very poor because we give contract to contractors who are not contractors. We simply want people to consume our credit for nothing. You give a contract to a contractor to construct the stretch of route from Yaoundé to Douala. The first thing the contractor does is he goes to church, do a special offertory, and buy a new car and start a construction in the village. Meanwhile, the real contract is the route from Douala to Yaoundé. Our contractors are a problem, and those who are giving them the contract, they are equally a problem because they want their percentages to come in. So this, we are just confused.
The road accidents, who is responsible?
Yeah, it's a whole lot of so many people we keep listing. We'll begin with the powers that be and the quality of roads that other panelists have said it. I want to assure you, I traveled in February from Yaoundé, anyway, let me just say from Ngaoundéré to Maroua, because I took the train and stopped at Ngaoundéré, and then I had to travel from Ngaoundéré to Garoua. If you were to travel from Ngaoundéré to Garoua, you have to remain with in the name of Jesus all the time. People shout Allah, people shout because vehicles keep falling in holes. Yes, those who are doing that road, they know those drivers there are supposed to be given some sort of distinction because it's terrible. From Ngaoundéré to Garoua is terrible. I think we left Ngaoundéré at 4 p.m. and we arrived Garoua at 2 a.m. I don't know, and they were telling you that no, when things were normal, in fact, this journey will leave at 4 a.m. by 8 p.m. would have been there, but we arrived at 2 a.m. in Garoua. The roads are terrible. So the first thing is the roads, and you can understand that when a road is constructed in countries that are civilized, there are toll gates that are put there. The money that is collected at the toll gate is to maintain that road, because the road have a lifespan. And the 500 francs they pay is supposed to be kept somewhere. It's not even supposed to be used, because we know that maybe after 10-15 years this road will be degrading. But the big question is, what is happening with the money collected on toll gates in Cameroon? That's a very big question. Then now when you go to what my brother was saying, that back pocket, yes, because conditions favor them like that. What about the uniform guys on the road, the gendarmes and the police? What do they want? They pray for the back pocket.
The drivers too are responsible, Mr. John Neba.
And you don't ask a thief to catch himself. There is somebody who has been put there to catch that thief, and the person is the gendarme or the police, and he expects the driver to catch himself. Let me tell you that some uniform guys are on the road praying that vehicle should overload so that they will also have something. When your vehicle is not overloaded and your papers are okay, they are not happy with this type of mentality and corruption.
How about drivers?
What do you mean by drivers? Drivers are pushed to the wall. Which Cameroonian is living well with the rate of misery, with the meager salaries, with the abandonment in the hands of capitalists? Drivers have no choice than to try to round up, to catch up with the end of the month. I think that if the Ministry of Labor was actually looking into the working conditions of Cameroonians in various private sectors, we are going to limit this. Because when the ministry sacrifices the worker to the proprietor or the owner of the business, now the worker has to devise other means to make ends meet. And that is why we are seeing in a country that is corrupt, everything can always follow. If this government fought corruption genuinely, these road accidents, bad roads and everything will be reduced.
Mr. President, what is your take on what the Guardian Post is saying on accidents?
You know, Mr. Tabi Clarkson, what I have to talk about the accident is very simple, because when a country is mismanaged, things cannot work properly. I've been traveling every day from various places, right? And I've never seen a police control that stop a vehicle, a transport vehicle, to ask to make an alcohol test, for example. This simple test that doesn't even cost 1,500 francs, right? So when the police control what they call control mix. What are they out for? They are out to check what they call ID cards, to check overload, but that's not exactly what can save save Cameroonian from dying. The main problem that when they say control routier, they are talking about checking the condition of the driver. It's not the condition of the passengers.
And
it's the conditions of the car and the driver, to see if the driver who is carrying 70 people is on this condition, a safe condition to lead them to their destinations. So we should not be beating around the bush. We need to look at the exact situation. I believe that nobody here on this panel have ever seen a policeman controlling the driver. The policeman will not even know if the driver have a driving license. The policeman will not know if the driver have drunk alcohol before traveling or take any drugs. But you and me, we know that driver come out from bars and sit on the steering and drive 70 lives, almost 400 to 300 to 400 kilometers. You see, so those are measures that the government needs to think about. We should not be just saying that the driver are this, the driver are that. What are we doing to know that we have drivers that are responsible for people's life? We are doing nothing. The government is doing nothing. The regime is doing absolutely nothing. So if we are just talking, the problem,
when we know the efforts,
which effort? I have just took an example. We have five people.
And
5 people on this panel.
making sure that
let one person just tell me that he have seen a police control, brought out the driver out and asked him to blow to see if he have took alcohol or something else. This is a control of 5 seconds. You just blow, it's green, you go, it's red, you stop. They'll call for another driver to come and continue with the car, but nobody can say it.
Okay, we are
just to corroborate what he's saying. It is difficult because I even wonder whether the apparatus are available for those
They are not available.
They are not more expensive than human life.
We are coming back to you. Which other people caught your eye, Mr. Gine?
Well, I can't remember the newspaper, but the one that talks about the ID cards.
The national identity card.
La Meteo.
It's La Meteo. Can we have La Meteo?
Yes, I would like to say, 2025 is around the corner. And it will not be a surprise to Cameroonians to see pundits of the regime, or to at least see the regime in place come out with so many promises to make to Cameroonians, promises that will never see the limelight of day. Because this issue of ID cards, for more than 15 or 20 years today, Cameroonians have been suffering with this issue of ID cards. And today they tell us, and in fact, it's not the first time that they are announcing to us that we shall start getting ID cards done in the next 48 hours. What I always like to say, Mr. Tabi, is that let us wait until the first Cameroonians start presenting to us their ID cards produced within 48 hours before we can even come on air to appreciate. Because I remember sometime somewhere a journalist asked me if I could already maybe appreciate the government for that. I said no. Let's wait until we see Cameroonians show their ID cards produced within 48 hours, and then we can now come up to say we hail them for what they have done. Secondly, when we say ID cards will be done at 10,000 francs, I still want to say that 10,000 francs is exorbitant. We are living from about 7,000 francs to 10,000 francs. It is exorbitant because we have seen countries that produce the same ID cards even for free, Mr. Tabi. Why not maintain even the 7,000 at which it was before? Must it go up to 10,000 francs? Because there's one thing even I want to ask. When you come to think of it, people need ID cards in these countries to produce passports. But it's so, I don't understand how we could have a center that produces passports, and the first page of your passport booklet is always that had as an ID card. How come we could produce that one, but the ID card has remained a problem in this country today? what is so difficult about the issue of the ID card. And we know very well that there is nothing a citizen can do without his national ID card. There are thousands and thousands of people today who have not had them for 5, 10, 15 years. We have seen people who, once they receive an ID card, they organize a feast to celebrate that finally they had one. So I just want to say that promising Cameroonians ID cards in 48 hours after 63 years of independence, I don't think it is some news that we need to go celebrating. Worst of all, we have not yet seen them. Like I say, let us wait until we see the first persons parade their ID cards obtained within 48 hours, then we can now go celebrating. But then the 10,000 francs is still a problem, because there are people in this country, even at 7,000 francs, who don't have them because they could not afford it. Let us be honest with ourselves and we see things the way they are.
It's true that when I was reading the newspaper La Meteo, I saw John Neba. He was saying that it's good news. John Neba,
I think
ID card held for 10,000 francs, according to the explanation of Louis Paul Motaze, the Minister of Finance. It's no longer 10 years, it's now 15 years. It's something laudable.
10,000 francs and 15 years. Yeah, we would think that is something laudable if the ID cards will be available at that time, at the time frame that they have given. And I want to make my brother here understand that there are people who make ID cards in 2 days. Even now that we are talking, they call it ID card express, and that is a means to devise that they have devised it to extort money from citizens. It's not that the ID card cannot be available within 2 days. The problem is that those managing it must always devise a strategy so that they can extort money, bringing names like Passport Express, ID card express. But to me, if you needed to make a nationality, maybe it's 3,500. Then you needed to go and pay another 2,800 at the police station. It's how much? And then now, if you sum up everything, it will be around the 10,000 that Louis Paul Motaze is talking about. All we want is that we give the government the benefit of doubt. We don't want to read into the ball, but we think that we give them the benefit of doubt because the government too wants to win election, and we know that one of the fallouts of election is that the government can do something for the benefit of the citizen, even if it were for election purposes. If we can have it like that, after
ID card is important. It's an important document.
Very important, and we need it to register and vote.
It is an important document. All the same. The time for us. No.
I don't know whether you asked because you have not only one caught my attention.
No, we are coming to that.
Okay,
the time for us to welcome Linus Otoko with the collaboration of Andre Owuna. Can we welcome, of course, Linus Otoko who just join us. Linus, we say good afternoon and welcome.
Good afternoon, Clarkson Tabi. Good afternoon to my co-panelists. Good afternoon to our millions of televiewers of Camdis TV, the millions of followers on your Facebook page and your YouTube channel, to whom I say thank you for welcoming me on board. I hope to bring my contribution in building the Republic.
And talking about contribution, ID cards is good news. That is 10,000 francs for 15 years now.
I quite remember some time ago we had that debate here. The problem was not the ID itself. The problem was the cost. Now, if they thought it wise to expand the time lab of that ID, the validity of that ID, to match the cost, then let's go for it.
It's good news.
Very good news for it. We no longer go for 10 years, we go for 15. And if you have to go for 15, the state tells all its citizens, if you want to go for 15 years, make additional effort at the tune of your pocket. As simple as that.
Okay. It's true that Mr. John Neba wants to say something. He's itching. Which paper caught your attention, Mr. John Neba?
No, let's think about the ID card.
No, we are coming.
Okay, I want to talk about Realite Plus, and I want to say here that at one moment we need to be serious. When a paper sits down and writes that the Governor Awa Fonka Augustine saves the Catholic Church, but you see, that is, to me, I'm not being a journalist, that is not balanced reporting. There was a misunderstanding between the traditional rulers and the Catholic Church, and the governor did his job as an administrator and a mediator and peace return, and you sit somewhere and say they saved the Catholic Church from what? How could the traditional rulers in the West region kill or destroy the Catholic Church? that is that type of bias reporting that is bringing hatred. And I think this Realite Plus, I think their journalists should sit up, because just say peace has returned. I'm not teaching you people journalism, but saying that it is the governor that came and saved the Catholic Church from the hands of the traditional rulers, that looks terrible as journalist. That is not professionalism. Now
thank you. What is your take on that, Lambert?
I keep saying this.
Yeah.
You know, journalists are hungry people. I'm sorry to say this, especially private journalists. Some, let me put the word some, as we are being taught in school. They are hungry because you don't give a bold headline, and at the end of the day, there's nothing inside. You just want to hit the pot and people start shouting thieves, thieves. Meanwhile, there are no thieves anywhere. Please, it's good that you want to make money, but it's equally polite if you don't derail people. The Catholic Church being what it is, I think it's just to corroborate what my brother has said, because the governor, you know, that governor is very intelligent to know that there is Catholic tradition and there is tradition itself. You know, I keep saying religion is a foreign tradition. Yes, I'm an African. Religion is a foreign tradition, and Catholic Church itself has its tradition. So if Catholic Church wants to lay hands on another tradition that is not Catholic, it should be addressed. And the governor, as we are crying for peace, he did his best and peace returned. Why provocation? No need.
No need for provocation.
Just to react on these comments, I want to encourage my co-panelists here who are of various professions, that in every profession, like in a class of students, not all are brilliant. So I will not excuse the act of this journalist who happens not to be a journalist. I don't want to open his career profile here. He's a photographer, for your information.
Okay, or Realite Plus.
He's a photographer, not a journalist. Okay. Now, for your information, as we are in a class of students, not all are brilliant. You will find the bad students, but is it because you have bad students in class that the whole school is bad?
No.
Good. So when we address the level of the practice of journalism, especially in the crude and unfriendly environment of the private, where the least headline lands you into jail, where the least commentary gives you lashes on your bottom at said, we all know where we are. When they practice, when they do the little efforts they make to have us read through the headlines on daily basis, they need a kudos and not a stone. That is what I wanted to restore here.
And if they throw stones,
can we still have the place of my friend Paul Gwari Kinzi, West Governor Fonka Azu,
sauve l'Église catholique.
Le gouverneur Awa Fonka Augustine sauve l'Église catholique face à la grande.
It can also be good because
the chef traditionnel,
out of your anger, you will buy to read.
Okay, Mr. President, maybe you have a reaction following the headline of Realite Plus.
Before I react on this, on Realite Plus, I would like to come back on the issue of the ID cards, right? So when they are talking about 15 years extension, I think that we should not clap.
La Meteo, can we come back to La Meteo? The talk of the ID card
extension. Now, before clapping, does you people know the quality of this ID cards? Maybe you can use it for 3 years, it got bad. So we have to look the quality, because all the ID card that we have been producing in Cameroon, sometimes the SIM card will just go out and missed. You understand? So when we are talking about 15 years, we should not just look at 15 years for 10,000. No, we should try as Cameroonians to look things squarely, to judge things properly. Yes, okay, the duration of the validity of the ID card is 15 years. But who in the world is doing ID card for 15 years? Only Cameroon. Who?
No, we won't. I won't buy that view.
No, who is doing ID card for 15 years? Because we are talking about 15 years. We are talking about how will you look like in 15 years? How will you look like in 15 years? Somebody who have 55 years.
In 15 years.
In 15 years, how will you look like?
70
We have to
years.
look. You have to judge all those. All those things. You understand? We should not just sit in Cameroon. That is why quality must exude in everything that we craft. It's not just because people are saying words, but we have to judge the pertinence of what we are doing and what we are receiving like service from the government. You understand? So for me, this idea of 15 years is still wrong. I still believe that we can do ID card for free, even if it is 5 years. Every 5 years we can still go back on it. This idea of 15 years, 10,000 for me is still not fine for Cameroonian, because there are a lot of things we have to look into. That is the point.
Okay, Mr. the Secretary General of the PAP, any comments on traditional leaders in the West region of Cameroon with the Catholic Church?
Well,
Realite Plus, once again, Paul Guarik Kinsey, making news.
What I would simply say is that knowing what the Catholic Church is, I want to think they are the first of churches in the world that understand within the African continent what they call enculturation. In other words, anywhere they go to, they try to see how they can blend, that is the Catholic culture, like my co-panelists were saying, and the culture of the environment or area where they find themselves. That is to say that even if there was some sort of misunderstanding between the church and some traditional authorities, I want to think that they could still perhaps eventually find a level ground to settle their issues. And now, if the DO came in, he played just his role, like someone already said here, to make sure that the governor, yeah, he played just his role to ensure that peace returned to their area. So that's just to go back to emphasize on the fact that the caption of that particular newspaper, truly, it was somehow biased, like a co-panelist already mentioned. I think just all what I have to say.
We are moving. Yes, Linus Otoko wanted to react a while ago concerning the deliverance of national identity cards.
Yes. Following the comment of one panelist here, my reaction is that many did not read through the headline we had on La Meteo. La Meteo says Mutaze gives a okay. We just commented on the cost. We did not read through the lines. Why is the Minister of Finance, the guarantor of financial functioning of the state, coming into the ID? Let's agree with the fact that the state coffers are empty, and we need these taxes to make the state move on.
Hoping that
the only way to compensate was to extend the duration of the ID
blindly.
Let us start by a measure that moves before we will come back to fine tune. There is no perfect work out there.
No, brother.
There is no perfect work.
Why we pray that person?
And in some states, if I may continue,
pray that person
in some states, identification is once in a lifespan. Most of us here, we have friends we call in the US.
Okay,
we enjoy communicating with them. Identification in that state is once in a lifestyle, once in a lifespan. So if the US government was reasoning just like my panelist here, saying that what will you look like in 25 years, nobody will have that identification.
I will tell you.
But they have it there. I say once in a lifespan. If the state has come back here in Cameroon to say, okay, we give it to you once in 15 years, I don't see the problem.
Okay.
I don't see the problem.
Please, I want you to...
Yes, maybe a reaction again before we move forward. A reaction from the president with the collaboration of Andrew Ronan. Can we have a collaboration? Yes?
I want to clarify something to my co-panelist. In US, identification is not the document that you move with it every day. In US, you can use your license to go to the bank and get a money. In US, you can use your passport. And with the US license, you can travel everywhere. But identification for us is something different. They can identify you in US with your driving license. They can identify you in US with your passport. But identification in US is just the database. It's not the physical aspect of the person, which in our country is absolutely different.
And is considered.
And is considered. So
it can be changed.
It can be changed.
It has not been changed.
Compared with the US system, it can be changed.
How can
and
it be
who
changed?
tells you that Authentic will not come with that technology?
It's true.
That is why we are talking about it today.
It's
We are
true
talking
that,
about it today because we want to draw the attention of
Mr.
the
President,
public to know that
Mr. President, it's
doing
true
a
that
15 years ID
it's true
card
that
is not solving the whole problem.
national identity card.
So we need experts to work on this
we are coming
project
to you. The
and
time-
come up with a.
we are coming to you. It's important to see that the ID cards, at first, we with 7,000 francs or what?
Yes.
How much?
Yeah.
So you had an ID card. It was announced that it's 15,000 francs. It has come to 10,000 francs for 15 years. You say it is not still enough, Mr. President.
Yes, it's not still enough because for me, I want to think about the quality of the ID cards. That is my point. We have to work with experts. Sorry. 10,000 is still too much. That's what I was trying to say.
Yeah.
To produce this ID card. Because for me, it's not just because they say that they will give me an ID card for 15 years where I will use it for 3 years and it will get damaged. I still need to go and do another ID card. So how are the ID cards are going to produce? Which guarantee of the quality? Which kind of experts have been working on it? Okay, yes, now the ID card become 10,000 because we sat here and we're talking about it. That's why the government consider. Let's still talk about the quality. Maybe they will still consider because we need to talk so that they should listen and consider that, okay, we have missed a point somewhere. Maybe they are right. Which kind of carton or which kind of material
None
are
of
we
us here
using?
have a finished copy of this new form of ID.
That is why.
to
But
test
talking,
whether it is high
talking
quality
about
or
this
low
thing makes
quality.
sense, brother.
But
You
now,
know?
if I may continue just on your way,
Yeah.
just on your reasoning, let's ask ourselves this honest question. Okay, we were all scandalized when the production of passports went up from 75,000 francs to 110,000. All of us here, we cried foul on it. But now, do you know any Cameroonian who has gone back to the identification center of the police to redo the passport because the quality of the passport he had was of poor quality and spoiled? Do you know anyone?
Just about 2 years.
I don't know any.
I will tell you
It's just
something.
about 2
I
years.
don't know anything.
Look. Well, sorry.
So now let's be honest here.
Let's be
We cannot
honest.
question.
I see a passport is not a document that you go around with it every day. Come on, brother. What are you talking about?
is kept at home.
Let's say
Okay, allow him to land, please. Allow us to land, please.
It is the same BNCM Authentic that is producing this passport we have.
That
has
is
come up with the ID. So
So
let us wait to have the finished copy on hand and then criticize the quality.
Yes. Okay.
As simple as that.
I'm
We
taking an example.
shall discuss our main topic, of course, of the day. The main topic concerning the release of the senior divisional officer for Funzi. We shall be back after the jingle. We still have something like 30 minutes to discuss the release from the senior divisional officer for Funzi. Can we have it, our topic on the screen? And I will begin, of course, with Mr. the President, given that he is a leader of a political party. Before coming to the Secretary General of the PAP, let's take the man of Jeunesse Patriotique du Cameroon. Yes, Mr. President, you follow the release of the senior divisional officer for Funzi. What is your take?
You know, Mr. Tabi Clarkson, PYC, Patriotic Youth of Cameroon, doesn't panic on such a release, because when we focus ourselves to be talking about this kind of release, you know, for me, I still believe that's a kind of distraction, because this release doesn't have any legal ground. to be implemented? How do you think that somebody will just stand up and release saying that if you we have a justice in this country, so if I do something bad, I think we have a public prosecutor that can prosecute me. He's not a senior divisional officer or a governor. He doesn't have a title to prejudge what somebody is saying, you know, or what somebody have done. I believe that I don't really see any debate on this issue, because I know that he is powerless. He cannot do what he's pretending to intimidate people with, you know. So for me, I still believe that this release is not important for me to talk much about it, because I know quite all right that he cannot. What he said.
But Mr. President, must we speak everything on media in public? Must we say everything? We should not respect the institutions of the Republic?
No. When we say, look, if we say something on public which is against the law, we have, as I said, we have a penal court, right? We have a procedural court that we can use and follow the person that have done something wrong. For the judge to decide. It's not for a senior divisional officer to come and sit. This is just to intimidate Cameroonians and political parties. He's not that one who have. We have liberty of expression. We can say anything that we want without infringating the laws of the Republic.
When somebody comes on,
but when somebody come and say, I could have understood,
for example,
I could have understood that this man come and say that, okay, anybody that will infringe the law, he will present the person to the public prosecutor. That is one thing.
Simple.
That is one thing. But now, this intimidation, okay, just look at what the Minat used to say. Like Molinex, like Abbey, like all these things. This is not a Republican approach, you know. But he have never said anything about it. So I can say what I want. I have,
even if it means destabilizing the government, destroying the institutions.
That's not what I'm saying. I still keep on saying that we should be Republican. We should be Republican in our approach, in our ways of doing politics, right? But this communicate of the senior divisional officer is not as well Republican. Okay, this communicate can destabilize, because this is putting pressure or tension in the minds of the people living in the
country. Thank you. With the collaboration of Severin Alembe Avom, can we have the newspapers that we selected talking about the senior divisional officer, his release that actually came out? It was on Tuesday here in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. The newspapers, Mutation, and others like the Guardian Post, even Lojou made mention of the release of the senior divisional officer for Fundi. Mr. Secretary General of the PAP, we know how Republican you people are, the PAP. What is your take about the release of the senior divisional officer for Fundi?
Well, what I will tell you, Mr. Tabi, is that if eventually there will have to be any form of chaos in this country, I'm afraid it will not come from political parties. It will not come from civil society leader or opinion holders, but it will certainly be maybe instigated by regime pundits. People in this country who think that the country is theirs, people who think that they are the law, people who think that they are above the law, and so they think that they can come out and use whatever language that so pleases them on people as a means of rather intimidation. And maybe the divisional office, the SDO here, was just trying to distinguish himself, but I would think there are better ways by which he could have distinguished himself on this particular issue. For instance, if you discovered that that there are opinion leaders, there are opposition parties or civil society organization members who come out on media and perhaps say things the way they shouldn't have said them, okay, why not convene a meeting and call them to order, tell them that we have taken note of these things, but note that we are in a state of law, and if these things continue this way, maybe this could be eventual sanctions that will. There is a way of addressing people. There is a way of communicating with people. There is a way of passing across a message to a people. But when we look at the way our authorities do work, just like my co-parents were saying and citing the Minat, it starts from the Minat and it goes right down to the SDO. They are all people of they are all under his authority. And of course, when the big man begins the way he begins, it's but normal that the SDOs maybe should take the tone and want to follow in that line. Because when the minister himself comes on air and he reminds you that he can grind you people like spices in a Smolenex, he reminds you that you can be sent to a place of regret. I don't know how he says that in French. He reminds you of the bees that can be sent to stink and things of that nature. The SDOs are maybe just trying to recopy, just to replicate what the minister himself sits and says. So what I want to say here, Mr. Tabi, is that to me, what our authorities should rather understand is that when you hold an office and you think there is a problem, there are better ways of resolving issues without necessarily wanting to resort to the use of force. Because I want to do that by trying to intimidate, he's trying to rather be the one to bring the idea of force in this particular context. And I do not think that that is the best way of resolving an issue as an administrator that he is. So when he comes out in this way, I don't think that he actually intimidates any opposition party in this country or any opposition leader. I don't think so. I don't think that he intimidates Cameroonians per se. You see, but like I say, my worry, my fear is rather that if there should be some eventual chaos in this country, it may rather come from people like them who want to give that impression that they have a certain monopoly of violence, where they think they can want to leverage on the fact that maybe they have the military on their own side to intimidate people and give the impression that people could either be jailed or arrested or touched. I don't know.
Lambert, Kevin,
Yes.
the release, debates on media, the appeal which is coming from the senior divisional officer for Fundi, saying that we have to be responsible, we the journalists, equally those who we invite as panelists, because we are all Republicans, sons and daughters of Cameroon.
Yes, Clarkson, it's normal that Cameroonians are not happy, and there's always a polite way of addressing an issue. Just like what my co-panelist is saying, let me tell you that calling those you think are bringing trouble in the center region is very polite. Calling them on phone, because I want to believe that the SDO has all their numbers on their contacts, and the SDO can use any means in getting to them.
But this is one of them.
Calling them one-on-one and talking to them that, my friend, this thing like this.
That's not still lawful. Bro.
No, I am landing.
Let's work according to the law.
No, when you were talking, I was not talking, please.
Okay.
That's why sometimes I don't want to say.
And then the meeting was with men of media, men and women of the press.
I'm landing.
Not with political parties.
Yes. Inviting the media in his office is very polite, because nobody can refuse an invitation from an SDO, considering what Cameroon is. Because Cameroon, I keep saying, is a very delicate state. It's either you get missing through any means, or you say what you want to say and bear the consequences. Well, let me tell you that Hebrews 13:17 says, obey your leaders and submit to them. But there are certain things that sometimes you want to submit to your leaders are mashing you like carpet. It is wrong.
It's nice to obey. It's nice to obey.
It is nice to obey, but the leaders should not equally take advantage of those they are leading, as like they don't have any way to go to apart from going to them. Is it what you call us? When you call us, we come on TV, we sit and debate. Is that not polite? We are talking about peace. How can peace come when you are provoking a situation? Nevertheless, I don't want to blame the SDO, because the Minister of Territorial Administration earlier provoked, and this is what is coming. And if it's coming from the SDO, meaning that the chiefs who are on salary will equally have their own to say, and the community will be in havoc.
Kevin, you are a journalist.
Yes.
The advice that you are giving to us journalists is what?
I am pleading that, Tabi.
That we have to be responsible?
Yeah, very, very responsible. We know what we can say. Not all the truth are to be told. We know what we can say and bring war in a twinkle of an eye. And we know what we can say that can bring peace. But there is that I know that Cameroonian journalists are in chains. They should allow us to work. So when they say the SDO is country journalists, I am afraid. What is the use of antique? What is the work of antique and Ministry of Communication? They will have the regulating the
National Communication
Council, and it is our gendarme. What is their job? The SDO has a communicator in his office.
Of course.
That communicator is supposed to come from the Department of Communication in the SDO office, not necessarily the SDO, except that the SDO wanted to be known.
To show himself.
Who knows? Because there are some administrators that sometimes are landing. There are some officials that nobody knows. And when they come up like this, we know them.
He presided over the meeting, and I was personally there with other colleagues, and of course of the press. We were all there with the senior divisional officer for Fundi. Tell us, Mr. John Nebam, debates on media, the appeal which is coming from the senior divisional officer for Fundi, saying that we need to be responsible, even as a panelist, even as guests, because Cameroon belongs to us all. We should not destroy, because we need to build this place, this land, which is a collective gift from the Almighty.
Thank you. An irresponsible behavior is when a bag of rice that used to cost 12,000 is now 18,000.
25,000.
Without any explanation. An irresponsible and provocative behavior is when a bottle of oil, Mayor, that used to cost 1,100 is now 1,500. An irresponsible and provocative behavior that can send people to the street is when a minister says the price of cooking oil will drop and assured us, and it is months, about 3 months today, nothing has reduced from the price of 1 liter of cooking oil.
Have you been to the market these days?
A provocative and irresponsible attitude.
Have you been to the market?
I'm buying. I've been to the market. Even now, we can go up to Ekunu. You still buy it for 1,500. And the minister spoke, it is about 3 months today. And when I asked the people who are selling, they told me that no, c'est le prix du bidon qui a chuté, ce n'est pas le prix du litre. But the liters come from the bidon. So, those are irresponsible statements that people make that can push people with the misery that you see in Cameroon, with the way people suffer in Cameroon. I don't think it is what we say here that will actually be that. But like he said, the governor could have, the DO could have simply reminded people that be responsible, but he has no right to say that by the time John Nebam finished talking here, he can kidnap me and dump me in Kolafamba. I will no longer live in Fundi. Who gives him that right? That is not his right. That is where I have a problem, because it is saying that people can be sent out. You can be dumped out on Fundi division. It means that if I finish talking here and tomorrow you don't see me, check me maybe at Lekie, check me at Bamenubo or Kolafamba, because that man has powers to drop me out on Fundi. Is Fundi a different country? Does Fundi have different laws? That is where we think that ENAM has failed. I think Honorable Joshua, she said they should lock ENAM. And the problem is that when your party instincts rise above patriotism, you become mad and behave like this, because that is somebody who thinks that if the CPDM does not exist, it will not exist. No, you remain a citizen of Cameroon. You can join another party, you can even form one. Let us not think that if by 2025 and the CPDM is going down, you will not exist. They are exaggerating because they don't want to look and know that after CPDM there is still life. After President Pobia there is still life. They themselves can become president. They should not use statement like that. You know, when the news, and I like the way the newspapers presented, Yaoundé, capitale de la peur. If you are afraid in your own country, where will you be in peace? Minat is there threatening. The governors are threatening. They're coming down to the DOs threatening. Now, how do Cameroonians feel free? That is not liberty. It means that even though you are if it is not kidnapping, which law permits him to donate to another division in the center region?
Just a comment. It is equally true that some of us, when we come on air, our viewers believe 100% of what especially private media is saying.
He was right. Or what he said.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying that sometimes when we come on air, it is good to sometimes
let's not be prophets of doom on air.
Yes. Because
educate also.
One thing you have to understand. I earlier told you that a good journalist is a journalist that is still alive. That is still alive to keep talking and saying the right thing. And I am ending by saying that
you are ending in my time.
No, not in your time. You still have your time. It was just a comment. I'm sorry for that. It was just a comment to plead that. I'm pleading that the SDO should equally consider that 1, he is a father, 2, he is a leader, and 3, he is an administrator of a high caliber because he is in the center region where the presidency is.
All institutions.
And he is equally in a place where most of the IDPs are hiding because they think that Yaoundé is safe. And when he provokes a situation like this, some of us, we don't feel too safe anymore.
But we should be responsible.
Where shall we go to?
We should be responsible on air. We should be responsible in public.
I think you should ask Joe Shibonkin Kalabooks how he has been controlling journalists
Mr.
after
John
Peter Isoka and peace have been reigning in Cameroon.
Mr. John Neba is a turn of Linus Otoko.
Even though I was cut.
Linus Otoko, you have the mic. What is your take on that?
My take on that is that the SDO is in his role. But going so far as producing a press release, he went the extra mile. And if you observed Cameroon Tribune of Thursday, the SDO came back and was trying to explain his position to show us that yes, he was in his role, he had the right to give warning in his module in Enam. They used to call it in territorial administration, the zone of territorial competence.
Yes.
He was in his right by telling you, I don't want to bear responsibility for your nasty reactions in my zone of territorial zone of competence. Of course. He's right. But going the extra mile to put it in writing, there was an exaggeration. And he himself, in that interview on Cameroon Tribune of Thursday, if you look for it and read, he admitted it. Yes, he admitted it. Second element, in the press release of the statement of the Minister of Communication yesterday, he was slightly demarcating from the position of the SDO.
Of course.
He said, we issue warnings, but we don't go the extra mile to, I don't want to use that term here. You can go into the communication of the Minister of Communication. Now, this made me think of a widely shared statement of the late Idi Amin Dada on social media. He says, I can guarantee freedom of speech, but I don't guarantee your freedom after speech. That is the widely shared statement of that ruler. Now, the SDO, what I liked on him is that he admitted, in that interview, he admitted that he went the extra mile. But he was telling the journalist that in his role, he was issuing warning. I don't want to say he was coming back to the position of Lejour. That is frightening before we can...
Intimidating.
Yeah. But now, was he wrong in his position, in his proceeding? I would say no. No. Why no? He was technically calling for more responsibility. And if you observe, I took the time to zap through TV stations on Sunday, debate time. There are statements that usually go out of control. And it is more regular these days. As we have started the countdown to presidential elections and all the elections. I can tell you, I don't want to quote the station here. There was a debate that almost ended in a fight on this issue of election. So in coming out and warning us, he is right. But going the extra mile to put it on writing, warn you that you leave his zone of competence.
The advice that you are giving to journalists, you as a journalist,
as a journalist, the advice I give to journalists, I will tell my colleagues to be more balanced and to learn that all the statements made during debates like this, they are on the head of the journalist. Because those guys up there, they don't
like
have
what John Neba is saying.
Yeah, they don't have our contacts.
And equally,
for your information, they don't have our contacts. Tabby Clarkson, you quite remember some time ago, we had a program in 2008.
Of course.
When at the end of the program, everybody was on his heels, running the gendarmerie. The title of the program was Cameroon Rule of Law, full stop. You can imagine what was happening in that program.
But 2008,
so now,
all of us know what was happening in 2008.
Having come out of that zone of turbulence, let's admit that we need to call our colleagues to more responsibility. When speeches, statements, declarations want to go out of control, they have that role as moderators of debate to call to order. To remind us that we are not destroying the state. None of us here is against the state. Even Johnny, but you are not against the state. You love it.
You love Cameroon.
You just want the state to fit the particular ideology.
Johnny, but loves Cameroon.
Nobody hates Cameroon.
John never loves Cameroon.
Don't forget.
Not my ideology to fit into the laws of the
Yes,
republic. No
your
administrator
ideology, the way you
can
see
drive
it.
John Diba from Fundi to another division in the center region.
You want it. You want those laws.
I'm not the one wanting. The
to go-
laws are clear.
You
He
want
has no
those-
powers to do
You
that.
want those ruling, the governance, to go within the framework. of
Okay,
policy.
we have 7 minutes. We are concluding in 7 minutes. I'll give a minute to each speaker, and I will also take a minute to conclude. I'll begin with the President. Mr. President, your last word on this issue, certainly with an advice to militants and sympathizers of Jeunesse Patriotique du Cameroon. We have been seeing what you people have been doing, especially in the littoral. We say credos to you. Congratulations for what you are doing to mobilize voters in the upcoming elections, presidential elections, and so on and so forth. You have the mic, Mr. President, for a minute.
Yeah, what I would like to talk about to conclude is that my personal position related to the communicate of the SDO, I will tell him personally that this I'm not scared of this intimidation, because he doesn't have the right, he doesn't have that power to remove me from the house I've built in the Fundi to send me somewhere else. He doesn't have that right, no matter what. If I've done something wrong, we have a penal code, we have Kondengi who is here. That's where I will belong. And all Cameroonians have to know that. Because when they understood that prison is no more frightening, they want now to remove you from what keeps you what keeps you and your family, to try to remove you to be like a kind of homeless person. But still then, we are not scared about that. And the only advice I would tell to him and to all our governors is that when they are sending a communique out, let them refer to the laws of the republic.
Thank you.
And put them into writing, not just framing what is coming out from their emotional callousness.
Thank you. Your last word on this.
Yeah,
Mr. John
my advice goes to the Cameroonians who are listening to me. Somebody said it is the sweet potato that allowed itself to be eaten raw. And in a country where voters' apathy is at its peak, those who rule know that, because the highest weapon a citizen has against a bad government or a bad regime is your voters' card. It is sad to think that the administrators are afraid that it is the street. No, some of us, we continue to believe that the voters' card has power. And by the time people refuse to register and go and vote during elections, this is what will happen.
So you are calling
those
Cameroonians to go out and
those ruling you can take decisions, can increase the price of whatever thing, because know that during election you will not be there. And that is the only way they can be sanctioned democratically. So I call on Cameroonians to register, go out and vote. And I equally call on these administrators to make sure that they have legal advisors who advise them before they come out to add a lot of oil on fire.
Thank you. Lambert, Kevin, your last word?
Yes, Clarkson, I am still pleading that we journalists should be responsible. And we should know that we have a family. But in as much as we have a family, we shouldn't allow lies to cover the truth. Because we should not be saying things or acting as journalists because we are hungry.
You want to be alive?
I am pleading that in as much as the Gombo syndromes continues, we should equally dish out what is expected of us, because we know what is expected of us. Nobody should pay you 5,000 and you write an article that can kill more than 30 million people. Please, nobody. And nobody should provoke you to an extent of being afraid to say the truth. And those provoking, please, there is a way of cautioning somebody that has gone wrong. You don't necessarily. There was a time here that the Minister of Territorial Administration, His Excellency Paul Atanganji, said anybody that is afraid of a woman talking should not get married. Yes, and I really appreciated that, and I'm still appreciating. He made a very good statement. please, we are there to serve the community, and the community should equally provide us information with facts. Journalists who are working on telephones and pens, please do your research very well. Talk with facts. You know what it takes to bring news. Thank you.
Thank you equally, Lambert. Mr. Jinebane?
Yeah, what I would simply say, Mr. Tabi, is that like I said from the onset, when you see the way some of our administrators are agitating, you understand that it is an announcement of the end times for the regime in place. And they understand that that is just why they are panicking. That's why they act and they react the way they do things. When you are calling on Cameroonians to be responsible, yes, we agree. We all need to be responsible in the way we share our views on platforms and whatnot, but you should also be responsible in the manner in which you address the people in trying to bring them to order. There's also a responsible way of letting people know they need to be responsible in the way they do things. It is not through intimidation that you are going to succeed in passing across your message to whosoever. Secondly, I would like to tell Cameroonians that I think it's but normal, it's but obvious in the eyes of every other person today that what is troubling this regime today, our administrators, is 2025. They know for sure that Cameroonians are registering and that 2025 is going to be the end of this regime. So I will simply encourage Cameroonians, irrespective of the intimidation and all whatnot, people should go out there and register massively. That's just all I can say. People should register massively because the ballot is stronger than the bullet. When that time comes, we go out there, we vote out the regime, and we put in place the people we think that can lead this country and deliver us from where they have kept us. And I want to think, at least from there, Cameroonians will have a voice of theirs to actually express themselves and say exactly what they feel or think without that fear of intimidation coming from any person.
The ballot is stronger than the bullet, same like the pen is stronger than the gun. Linus Otoko, your last word as we are concluding the papers today.
My last word, I will start with this controversial statement. If we were not in the press, I will advise the SDO to withdraw his communique. But unfortunately, we are in the press. What goes out cannot come in again, unfortunately. And I see through that position to read a problem. A problem our government has is a general problem. Who does what? My fellow colleague talked about a journalist producing a press release, not a territorial authority. And I believe in the SDO's office there is a journalist.
Of course.
Let him refer to those competence. The problem we have in many ministries out there, you will see a teacher becoming a translator, and we know the translations we have out there. You will see a geography teacher becoming a journalist, managing communication in a ministry. You will see a carpenter becoming a driver. We know what it is. Let everyone do his job. And if we move like that, I will call on him as a father, as the supreme territorial authority that he is. Because I attended situations in traditional chieftaincies. When it goes above the chief, he refers to the DO for judgment. As that father, he was not supposed to write the warning. He has the power to give verbal warning. He was not supposed to put it on writing. Let's refer to competencies and things will move.
Let's refer to competencies and things will move. We say thank you for coming, gentlemen. There will be a rebroadcast of the papers tomorrow as from midday. You will meet me again at 6 p.m. tomorrow for the Republican debate. Please stay tuned as programs continue on Camdis television at 3 p.m. We shall have Tori Dikwat with Tori Massa at 8 p.m. The news in the French language with Marie Solange Manga. Keep on watching Camdis television today. We say may the Almighty God continue to bless the Republic.